A thank you note by Michael Ryan for John Scoyles. My daughter made drawings with the pens you sent, line drawings that suggest the things they represent. Different from any drawings she at 10 had done, closer to real art, implying what the mind fills in. For her mother, she made a flower, fragile on its stem. For me, a lion, calm, contained, but not a handsome one. She drew a lion for me once before on a get well card and wrote, I must be brave, even when it's hard. Such love is healing, as you know, my friend. Especially when it comes unbidden from our children, despite the flaws they see so vividly in us. Who can love you as your child does? Your son so ill, the brutal chemo, his looming loss, owning you now. Yet you would be this generous to think of my child. With the pens you sent, she has made, I hope, a healing instrument.
El Olvido by Judith Ortiz Cofer. It is a dangerous thing to forget the climate of your birthplace, to choke out the voices of dead relatives when in dreams they call you by your secret name. It is dangerous to spurn the clothes you were born to wear for the sake of fashion. Dangerous to use weapons and sharp instruments you are not familiar with. Dangerous to disdain the plaster saints before which your mother kneels praying with embarrassing fervor that you survive in the place you have chosen to live. A bare, cold room with no pictures on the walls. A forgetting place where she fears you will die of loneliness and exposure. Jesus, Maria y Jose, she says. El olvido is a dangerous thing.
Planetarium by Adrian Rich, thinking of Kaelin Herschel, 1750 to 1848, astronomer, sister of William, and others. A woman in the shape of a monster in the shape of a woman. The skies are full of them. A woman in the snow, among the clocks and instruments, or measuring the ground with poles in her 98 years to discover 8 comets. She whom the moon ruled, like us, levitating into the night sky, riding the polished lenses. Galaxies of women there doing penance for impetuousness. ribs chilled in those spaces of the mind. And I, virile, precise, and absolutely certain, from the mad webs of Uranusborg, encountering the nova. Every impulse of light exploding from the core as life flies out of us. Tycho whispering at last, let me not seem to have lived in vain. What we see, and seeing is changing the light that shrivels a mountain and leaves a man alive. Heartbeat of the pulsar heart sweating through my body. The radio impulse pouring in from Taurus. I am bombarded, yet I stand. I have been standing all my life in the direct path of a battery of signals, the most accurately transmitted, most untranslatable language in the universe. I am a galactic cloud so deep, so involuted, that a light wave could take 15 years to travel through me, and has taken. I am an instrument in the shape of a woman trying to translate pulsations into images for the relief of the body and the reconstruction of the mind.
by Nikki Giovanni. The last time I was home to see my mother, we kissed, exchanged pleasantries and unpleasantries, pulled a warm, comforting silence around us, and read separate books. I remember the first time I consciously saw her. We were living in a 3-room apartment on Burns Avenue. Mommy always sat in the dark. I don't know how I knew that, but she did. That night I stumbled into the kitchen, maybe because I've always been a night person, or perhaps because I had wet the bed. She was sitting on a chair. The room was bathed in moonlight diffused through those thousands of panes landlords who rented to people with children were prone to put in windows. She may have been smoking, but maybe not. Her hair was 3/4 her height, which made me a strong believer in the Samson myth, and very black. I'm sure I just hung there by the door. I remember thinking, what a beautiful lady. She was very deliberately waiting, perhaps for my father to come home from his night job, or maybe for a dream that had promised to come by. Come here, she said. I'll teach you a poem. I see the moon sees me. God bless the moon, and God bless me. I taught it to my son, who recited it for her, just to say we must learn to bear the pleasures as we have borne the pains.
Go to My Head by Carol Boston Weatherford. I sang my songs so much that they became the soundtrack for my dreams, the melody for my moods, a room that I lived in, and a balm for my wounds. I sang my songs so much to know them backward and forward, enough to wonder if they could lift me from hometown haunts to center stage. I'd sung my songs so much to think I could take on Baltimore's best talent at the Harlem Theater, amateur hour, and maybe even win. If you sing a song enough, it can go to your head that way.
Time Machine by Brenda Shaughnessy. But unfortunately, it can only travel into the future at a rate of 1 second per second, which seems slow to the physicists and to the grant committees and even to me. But I managed to get there, time after time, to the next moment and to the next. Thing is, I can't turn it off. I keep zipping ahead. Well, not zipping. And if I try to get out of this time machine, open the latch, I'll fall into space, unconscious, then desiccated. And I'm pretty sure I'm afraid of that. So I stay inside. There's a window, though. It's like a television or a fish tank. But it's never live. It's always over. The fish swim in backward circles. Sometimes it's like a rearview mirror, another chance to see what I'm leaving behind. And sometimes like blackout, all that time wasted sleeping. Myself, age hate, whole head burnt with embarrassment at having lost a library book. Myself lurking in a candled corner, expecting to be found charming. Me holding a rose, though I'd like to put it down so I can smoke. Me exploding at my mother, who explodes at me because of the explosion of some dark star all the way back, struck hard at mother's mother. I turn away from the window, anticipating a blow. I thought I'd find myself an old woman by now, traveling so light in time. But I haven't gotten far at all. Strange not to be able to pick up the pace as I'd like. The past is so horribly fast.
Fear Hostile Nations by Margaret Atwood. In view of the fading animals, the proliferation of sewers and fears, the sea clogging, the air nearing extinction, we should be kind. We should take warning. We should forgive each other. Instead, we are opposite. We touch as though attacking. The gifts we bring, even in good faith, maybe warp in our hands to implements, to maneuvers. Put down the target of me you guard inside your binoculars. In turn, I will surrender this aerial photograph, your vulnerable sections marked in red, I have found so useful. See, we are alone in the dormant field, the snow that cannot be eaten or captured. Here there are no armies. Here there is no money. It is cold and getting colder. We need each other's breathing, warmth. Surviving is the only war we can afford. Stay walking with me. There is almost time. If we can only make it as far as the possibly last summer.